Okay, people, I'm trying this one again. I think this is the first time I've had to, like, legitimately refilm one of these. Um, my nose, I did fine. I did fine. But my nose was doing, you know, horrible things. It was very unpleasant. And I was half watching it, trying to, do where I add the pictures and whatnot. And I was like, no, unacceptable. So this is take two. Yes. This week will be uh, Killashandra by Anne McCaffrey. Can we see this? Look at that. Look. This cover here is about 80% of why we picked up this book. Let's be honest. Tremendous cover. Tremendous cover. Not so tremendous a book. Okay. Our rating our rating is going to be a very uninspired 2 out of 5. A 2 out of 5 being if you know you like maybe some light sci-fi, romance, and you don't have anything to read right now, and for whatever reason you're disinclined to reread something else that you already have, and you're desperate, then maybe give this one a read. Otherwise, you skip it. And it's one away from one, right? One being a trash book that you should just burn. Right? Not many ones out there. 2 out of 5. Let's get into the story and then the issues of the story. All right. I still have this horrible note thing. I hate it. All right. It does bring up. See, and this is the part that I think makes it. This is the biggest problem with this book. We'll get a few good, interesting issues, but then we don't do anything with the issues, right? And so it's like, if your whole book was just garbage, then my expectations wouldn't be up at all, and yeah, I'd know going in and leaving what I was dealing with. So you stay sort of in your pocket. But when you make me think, let's say, high-minded things, and then plummet me back down, that's a long way to fall. We have this idea of sort of the economics of this universe where certain planets are tied to other planets for various means, or certain planets are started for singular purposes, right? So, on the starting front, I can see that making sense, right? We're going to have an entire, let's say, Mormon planet, or single rule, or no government planet. These kind of ideas that we want to try, but we can't because society's already formed itself. I can see people picking a new planet and trying those things out. That's super interesting. Then it has the part about they're tied sort of economically together. I need you to send me corn and I send you iron ore, this kind of thing. To me, that doesn't work in space as well. One, if we can get into space, we're going to have higher technology. And space is full of all the crap. So there's never deficits, right? There's never deficits of stuff. So I don't see that as a problem. Even if you had your own planet, most planets have a bunch of stuff on them. And then food-wise, I think food is easier to get than the stuff, than the iron or the rare earth metals or whatever we want, right? Because by the time you get to the space flights, you should be able to have agricultural robots. So you just set them in a spot like a Roomba, and it just brings you corn constantly, right? That's not a big deal. Food wouldn't be a big deal. So that part doesn't jive with me. I guess you can have it if you want. It doesn't give me anything. But the other part does work for me. I like that part. But again, all this is in my mind. The book doesn't go heavy into this. All right, we have our main lady here, and she is. I think you can see it in the picture there. Yeah, you see that bag there with those crystals in it? She's a crystal singer. And apparently in this world you need these crystals for all manner of things. And she has a particular ability to get them. I like how they set this up. It's not just laid out. It's slowly dripped to you over the course of natural conversations. That part's excellent. Again, the person can write. She just chose to not. But they have some kind of an idea of a symbiote in the person. There's some sort of vocal talent. There's some sort of regenerative properties that come with this symbiote and the skill you have. They don't go much into the symbiote. I'd like to hear more about it. Um, it also comes with some sort of memory loss, but it didn't go heavy into that either. But that'd be interesting to me too. Why the memory loss? In any case, we get some kind of an idea of a job, right? And her boyfriend slash boss, just to make things more complicated, is telling her like, look, don't bother with this one. Don't get involved. And she just drops it, which I also kind of like. So many times in these stories, such and such is going to happen, and so we just have our main character, um, what do we say? Just drawn to it just randomly, right? Or inexplicably. And that always seems kind of cheap to me. So the fact that this person is like, well, if I won't bother with it, I got enough stuff to do. I got my own thing. I like that idea. Book started all right. It really did. Ramp. Miss Pages again. I don't know what it is with this notebook, but I'll write my notes, then like skip a page, so these are blank now, and then go on. Like, what am I going to do with these 2 pages now? Nothing. We hear about a planet called Optheria. I like the sound of it. And they are somehow musically inclined. Their big thing is these organs, these musical instruments they have that use these crystals. It broke. So they need her to go fix it. And it'll pay mad cheddar. On top of it breaking, they come to her, not they, the Optherians, her people, come to her and were like, there may be some kind of behind the scenes the federal United Planets want you to do. Because people don't tend to leave the planet, and so they want to know if this is by force or just by choice. If you just choose to stay, I mean, that's just your choice. But they have laws against not leaving, not letting people leave. I like the world building. I like all of this. She, of course, agrees to take it. She heads out. So I'll get a mining feel, but now we're in space. And then for whatever reason, I do not know, she gets onto this, I guess, transport, right? We got to fly like a month and a half or 2 away. A long trip, right? You're on a long trip with these people. I'm like, I'm going to pretend to be a student. And I don't understand why. There's no real reason. She's a guild member. They're all associated, these crystal singers. She's a guild singer. They're all associated. And it's not looked down upon particularly from what I can see. So I don't know why she'd pretend not to be what she is. I don't know why she pretends to be a student. She pretends to be a student. And it's not just like, let me pretend to be it. We get a lot of inner monologue. Like, she's putting effort into this play joke thing. I don't understand. Flirts with some guy. Not even to like purpose. Like, I need this for my job, or I'm malicious. There's no character development other than, I don't know, she just likes messing with people. It's kind of odd. So she does that randomly. Then we drop and we land in Optheria. And she's just like, I'm not pretending to be anyone else again. She just scratches that. That didn't come up. And now we're on the planet. And here now I get a bit of a Trek vibe. And I don't mean that in a bad way. You get a great feel for this world, for these people, for understanding that you're on a new planet. That part's very fun to me. I even don't hate the Optharians. They're very stiff, formal, no real outbursts, no real up and downs of emotion. Their whole planet, they've decided to be uninvasive, right? As uninvasive to the nature as possible. So if there's a hill, we'll try and put an auditorium in that just detracts as little from nature as possible. I'm like, I can get behind that. They have an odd thing where everyone in government like switches seats, like once a month or something like this. It's kind of cool. Or however long it takes. It's like you're president for a year, now you're treasurer for a year, now you're education secretary for a year. I'm like, that's kind of smart, I guess, in a weird way. If everyone is doing the job as smart, doesn't allow anyone to get too much power, I guess it could work. Um, for whatever reason, instantly she just doesn't like him. And I'm like, all right, I guess you could not like him, but she's kind of a d-bag towards them. I didn't find it altogether pleasant. Kind of a d-bag. There's an instant assassination attempt, and everyone spazzes out, but she's like brushing it off, like it's nothing. Let's just go on. Like she puts more energy in not liking them than concerning herself with being the assassination attempt. The levels are odd. The levels are odd. Then we get to a dinner. Again, I like these people. I like the Optharians. At a dinner party, you can imagine, what if someone doesn't like the food? What if there's too much and I don't eat enough and the chef is upset? Or too much spice or not enough spice? These kind of, what if I eat too fast and I burp and make everyone's evening unpleasant? This kind of thing. They don't say all this, but what they decide to do is make small portions that look pretty but are completely tasteless. And I'm like, that's a good idea. There's no way to do anything that's in any way disruptive to anyone. You could go through the formalities of a dinner and just move on about your day, right? You just eat your real food at home. Your girl Killa starts complaining that there's no booze. She starts complaining that the food don't taste good, and she's just an overall douchebag the entire time until she storms off. And I'm like, I get wanting to eat. I get being hungry. But I'm like, you don't have to be a douche to a whole culture. You are on a different planet. You aren't home. Why don't you just calm down a little bit? She doesn't calm down at all. Of course, when she gets to her room, they have a bunch of food there. And booze. And I'm like, you could have just waited 5 minutes and not been a douchebag. But she was a douchebag. From there, we get this weird zone of alcoholism where everyone she's talking to, she's asking like it's a speakeasy or something. Like, what's the code word to get me some booze? Get mama some booze over here. She's fiending after it. You know what I mean? Sorry, hold on. Where was I? Alcoholism. Always fun in a book, right? We get a weird zone in this book where our main character is like obsessed with alcohol. Now, she has some kind of ability because of her symbiote where she won't get drunk. And so I feel like the author is like, for us, That's like flying or something. Like, if you had the ability to not get drunk, wouldn't you just love to drink all the time? I guess that's what the author's thinking we think. I don't know. I don't have that thought in my head. But our character really does. She's just like even more than food. Even though she was complaining about food, she's like, I'm tired of food. I need the booze. Right? She gets into an argument, storms out because she's still being a douchebag to everyone instead of doing her job. And then just starts strolling the streets and she's like, I smell a brewery. And she sort of finds it like a speakeasy. She like forces her way in and gets some booze. It's very odd. And then she gets like kidnapped in the street. And I'm like, well, someone did try and assassinate you the day you came there. Maybe someone doesn't like you, but nah, she didn't care. She was walking around till she got kidnapped. It was very odd. We then go from there to this island, right? She's left on an island with like a guidebook and some kind of a particular fruit that this island has. And of course she's like, I can't stay here. I'm gonna go get her now. I'm like, I thought you were an alcoholic, but whatever. And she like swims from island to island till she gets to a more populated one. And there's like some idea of large sea monsters or something that just sort of don't eat her, which I'm like, that's sort of terrifying. I'd probably stay on the island rather than risk, predators that live in tropical oceans, whatever your planet is. So she's out there for like a month or two, a good long while. And then here, the symbiote is very inconsistent. All her abilities, they are only there when they're convenient, right? So it's I can touch these crystals and not get, and then my cuts heal real quick. So you have like healing ability. I have good hearing. I'm very athletic, right? So if you have a good healing ability and you're athletic, why do I need these descriptions of becoming gaunt and tanned and unrecognizable because I was on this island for a month and a half? Won't your super healing make it harder for you to tan? Won't your super healing make it so that you don't get gaunt? You'd look the same as you always look. Why would your weight and your physicalness fluctuate? Oh, because it just kind of does, because I need her to be unrecognizable for a second. I'm like, all right, I guess we'll just forget about that ability for a while. This is what we do in the book. Just forget about abilities. And you're like, well, why would we forget about this ability? Well, what we get on the island is she falls in love with some guy, some island guy, some handsome island guy. Tall, handsome guy. And it turns out he's the one who tried to assassinate her, but because the elders made him do it for some, for some personal gain, obviously. They limit who can play on their fancy organs. He tried to do it. They said no. And once you're out, they don't put you back in because it's so competitive. So he's like, I was going to assassinate you to be famous on this planet? She's like, yeah, it's fine. She's consistently not mad at him for trying to assassinate her, but then just equally as mad at the elders for having sent him to try and assassinate her. And I'm like, I'm guessing it's because the elders are old and ugly, right? It's so jacked. It's so absolutely jacked. And then this makes the last part of the book, the last issue I have, well, not the last issue, but a big issue. Our setting. The middle chunk of the book is now a seaside romance. Seaside romance. We're not concerned with fixing this organ. We're not concerned with going back. We're not concerned with the people who might be concerned about us. I've just disappeared. Who cares? I'm going to just hang out with this island boy. And then we had like minor story. Like I'm a miner, a crystal miner. Then we had space journey story. In space, spaceships, this and that. Now I have seaside, then I had explorer optheria culture And now I have Seaside. It's like 4 different stories in one. And none of them have enough time to get the legs that they sort of deserve. Just a taste of each. They all kind of taste good, but you're not gonna get a full meal out of any of them. If you would have just picked 1 or 2, it would have been a lot better. Now I'm gonna pick all of them for reasons. And then the Seaside, I just want my Seaside story. I don't. You know what? Technology's getting in the way. Why don't we just scooch that out of the way? Because we're running around on like sailboats now. Like, why? Why, when I have ships that can go out in space, am I concerned with sailboats? But because it's more romantic or something. It's very dumb. It's very dumb. In any case, she sneaks back. Her and this island guy, Lars. And they're going to upend the status quo or whatever. I don't know. And by this point, I kind of don't care. And I don't care, and then the characters don't seem to care. They do a thing to the organ. They do this and do that. They upend it. There's a bit here where they're like the organ can control people's emotions, not just like be good music. But I'm like, that's an interesting idea. And then so I'm like, are we going to get her like, are they going to play the thing and have the town like try and take her out? I'm like, no. They have a mob attack her. She gets attacked by a mob of people, but none of them are like brainwashed. I guess their brainwash is just to make you happy or not want to leave or whatever. I don't know. She gets attacked by the town, not because of the brainwashing, but because the government was heavy-handed in their searches for her. You know, when she was on the island and then hanging out with her boy toy island guy? Yeah, they were searching for her the whole time, and it made the town mad. So when they saw her, they like pummeled her and almost killed her. And I'm like, oh my God, this is stupid. They give me an idea of a cocoon, a healing cocoon, which, again, whenever I get like space sci-fi medical tech, I always love it. It's always fun. I get some here, but then it's not expounded upon. It's just there, and then we move on from it. We get, right here now towards the tail end, is a mobile federal court. Is that what I put? Yeah. Do I want to go there? Yeah. I'm gonna skip some of this. Do I skip some of this? Yeah. We get a mobile federal court. I love this idea. The guy can show up. He's a federal judge. He's almost robotic, which would be cool if he was a robot, right? A robot federal judge. He sets up his court in like a conference room because it's mobile. I can go wherever I want. And we're trying the Lars guy, her boyfriend, who now she's just desperately in love with. And his reasonings, right? Some of his reasonings for why he did what he did. Okay. I tried to kill her, but it's because the elders made me. And then I left her, a person from an off-world, on a deserted island, but I left her with a book that tells her what to eat. Well, did you go check on her? I checked on her once there was a hurricane coming. Did you check on her sooner? I'm like, no. Like, what if she died? I'm like, I don't know. But she likes me now, so can I get off? The judge is like, I see the part where maybe you were coerced by the higher up in the government. We're going to knock those charges off. But the rest, knocking someone out in public, dragging them, kidnapping, leaving them deserted on an island, yeah, you're going to go to jail for that crap. And then she like flips out, like she's been in love with him for her whole life. And she's like crying. It's like there's injustice in the world. And I'm like, what are you talking about? This person's a crazy person. And then she's all depressed on the way back. So no more pretending to be a student. Now I'm just depressed. And then I go back to to being a crystal miner, but I'm depressed. And then it ends like that. And then there's an epilogue, but I didn't care enough to read the epilogue. So if you want to read it, I'd suggest you don't, because this is a dumb book. Even the crystal mining is sort of stupid. These crystals will break, and she'll pick them up with her hands and then get cut, and like, don't worry, I heal. And I'm like, yeah, okay, I get that you heal. Use gloves. You can't, that'll mess up. I'm like, there's never been work where there's not some type of a glove or tool, right? Use tongs or something. It doesn't matter if the crystal breaks, it's not usable. Scoop it up. You don't have to constantly cut yourself. And she says something to the effect like, I studied 10 years to be a crystal singer. I'm like, so if you studied 10 years, why am I having you do manual labor? It's like having a doctor digging ditches. It's stupid. You get that big muscly guy to dig ditches and pair him with her who can sing the crystal out of the ground and make it a tandem. That makes sense. That's the book, though. This is why you don't judge a book by its cover, because they'll lie to you. Killashandra. If I can help it, I'm never reading another one of these again. Alright, let's do a quick ad. Excellent. I'm trying to remember how I did the ad the first time. These are all my books, yeah? Now, you can get the Kindle Unlimited. I don't have an ad for that. It's not like they're paying me, so you'd just be buying it on your own. Right? So I got no code for you to put in to give me credit in any way. And you can read my books off of that. Which, I guess I get some loot off of people who read it. But in my head, if my books are any good, you'll want to buy them anyway. So I'm not worried about that. Go ahead, go read them. I think you'll enjoy it. My books are definitely better than this one. I will say that. No lie. All right. This one was much better. I had a sneezing fit, but I'll edit that out. But it's much better than the horror show of the first one. Horror show, people. All right. I'll talk to everyone next week. I got to go work on this, get it uploaded. It's already kind of late.